who is an influencer for your customers?
Yeah,
And
that's an amazing point. No, actually, you make a really good point about that. So, yeah, you get involved with the local community, salons, things like that. Yeah, you have their clients are sitting in the chair for up to an hour, and they're talking about anything from.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Plumbing and HVAC Hustle Podcast. And today I have Mike Prencavage on, second time on the podcast because it was so good. We had to have him on again. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. I'm stoked to be here once again. It's been a little while, but it's always great to talk to you, man. You're as I know, you're working your way up and you're really getting visibly out there. So it's great to be here talking to you. So you're awesome, man.
Thank you. Well, I position myself next to influential people like yourself, not only as we'll talk about in this conversation about why that's good for me and creating influence for yourself, becoming a person of influence, but also because you find yourself around interesting people that are cool too. So, Mike, with the family plumber, how has being so involved in the community helps your business?
Oh, man. So, with the history that we have, my father starting the company, we're actually celebrating our 40th year next year in business. The amount of history is rich within our company, but it's been so important to stay visible in the community. I grew up in this community, which makes it a little bit easier, but still it's a constant process that you always have to work on. You have to stay involved with everything from your chamber of commerce, your local, even high schools too. Let's go back to the old school way of just getting your name out there on the T-shirts, for the local football team or the soccer team and stuff like that. So we try to stay as visibly as possible as we can in the community at all times.
I love that, and part of the reason I'm having you on, you're super involved with community leaders. You recognize who has influence in the community and you're creating relationships. You're being useful to them and you're being involved with them and you're getting around them. But also you've turned yourself into a person of influence in your market, which I think these two things are like really underutilized for home service businesses. I'm not sure why they're underutilized because you think about like why you purchase things. Yeah. And a lot of times it comes back to somebody in your life was influential and recommended them. So understanding this power of personal influence. Let's start with the leaders in the community. What have been a few next level moves with leaders in your community that have grown your business that other contractors could learn from?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some pretty substantial networking opportunities that I've had through the local chamber of commerce. Just in my city alone, I mean, I've gotten to, shake hands with community leaders, council members, things like that. Also, business owners that aren't necessarily plumbing business owners. I'm a part of a bunch of different plumbing associations where I meet business owners, but to meet your local communities like the salons, the restaurants, things like that, these community leaders will inevitably refer your business as long as you're a presentable, good personality and you really show genuineness. And I think that that's very important to show genuineness in every opportunity. So my biggest advice is if you are looking for those community influencers, such as city council members, you're at a chamber of commerce meetings, try to be as genuine as possible. You're not there to sell your business. Your business will naturally sell itself as long as you have a good product and good people behind it. So I think it's very important that you don't oversell your business. Go in there with an open mindset to really just build friendships, and I felt like at least in the way that I've been able to grow our community visibility is through this kind of friendship mentality. And, let's talk about the business later. We'll get to that. But right now we need to build a relationship, a genuine relationship. So I think that's super important.
Absolutely. And I just want to touch on so influencer marketing has been a kind of, without me intending to, has been a way that's grown our business originally. We had a YouTuber that was talking about our business. He's a roofer, and he recommended us one day, and we got 25 leads that day. And I was kind of like, wow, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know that one guy thinking we were a great company and saying it on YouTube could make that much business happen. But when you get around people that talk to a lot of your customers, think about a salon. Like if you even think about those people that when you go get your haircut could like tell the world about your company. Like, so I say influencer, I'm not just saying like the traditional person with the like, you know, in front of a private jet on an Instagram. I'm saying like, who is an influencer for your customers?
Yeah,
And
that's an amazing point. No, actually, you make a really good point about that. So, yeah, you get involved with the local community, salons, things like that. Yeah, you have their clients are sitting in the chair for up to an hour, you know, and they're talking about anything from, oh, you know, I have a household issue going on, and you know, I really need a good plumber or an HVAC guy to come in and take care of this issue. And it happens all the time. So by building those relationships up front, yeah, the salon can be a great referral for you. And I'll make a point to your online exposure and these types of pages on Nextdoor and the community pages on Facebook. If you are not monitoring that information, or at least what's being said about you on those social pages, you're really falling behind. You really have to be visible online as well in that regard as well. So
that's a great one. Like social listening. I was actually talking to my team about this because we just did something that was kind of a crazy marketing move this last week. And it hit on Saturday because we gifted something to somebody. Like I like gifting people. And you may not think of him as a traditional person of influence, but there's a guy, it was in an HVAC group, and he always posts pictures of him with like the carrier badge and like all these different things. And he's a little crazy. I mean, like he's an interesting guy. He's wild. People roast him. He doesn't care. He just puts it all out there. And he roasted us one time because we had this plaque in the back, and it's supposed to be for people that have 100,000 YouTube subscribers. I made it for our video guy at 10,000 because I was trying to get him to imagine us hitting. So he was making fun of us. And so I said, hey, dude, it's Thomas Pears. I said, hey, Thomas, just tell me your YouTube so I can follow you. And then he gave it to me. We sent him a plaque that said, congratulations for getting over 21 YouTube subscribers.
See?
And we made him a baseball card with his face on it, and we gave him some other gifts. And it was like banter and kind of roasting each other back and forth, but it was like was thoughtful. And he shared it, and it got like 500 likes on all the different spots he posted it. And I was like, even though that was under $100, it was under $100, and yes, it was risky because humor is risky. You know, like if you're messing with people or whatever, like if you're doing silly stuff, it is risky, but that's part of why it's funny.
Yeah,
and he loved it.
Many homes suffer from inefficient HVAC systems due to leaky ducts, leading to uneven room temps, lost airflow, and higher energy costs. AeroSeal's innovative sealant technology targets and repairs leaks, improving airflow and efficiency. Increase your customer satisfaction, increase sales, and offer a unique market advantage. Become a leader in HVAC efficiency. AeroSeal.com.
You broke down that barrier, right? And that's kind of what we were saying about building. Like you sell your products later. It really, if you're up front and you're trying to pitch whatever service you have, you know, whether it's plumbing, HVAC, or roofing, or even a salon business, you don't pitch your business up front. You build that relationship, and like what you said, less than $100, and you created. It sounds like a friendship in that one, and then the business comes later. I mean, it always comes later. It's you don't chase the money, you don't chase the referrals right away. Somebody has to actually genuinely trust you, and you create that bond. And then at that point, anything's possible. That's an interesting story.
And just to note, that was like I think it's important is you're talking about social listening, like on Nextdoor and social, like that was because I understood the context. Like we had to understand the context. What are people complaining about for plumbers and HVAC people on Nextdoor? Like, it's not you. Relax. It's not you that they're complaining about, but you're listening and you're like, oh, right. I'm going to tune. Sometimes we have to change our service a little bit to like attune to what the customers in our area really want. So That's what I think is so powerful about social listening. And then also then if you can layer on, if there's somebody that's really talkative in these Facebook groups, maybe you can do some next level, like you can give them some cookies after the service, or you can do some things. It's okay to like pile on people that you know are promoters.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Reaching out to those individuals, in their direct messages, just saying, hey, even I look at it as you take the people that are genuinely maybe upset at the service that you provided, right? That we have those clients that happen from time to time. I always find that the worst situation with clients can actually turn into your most longevity style clients that will stay with you forever. And I think you can build the same relationship with these types of people through this social network, Nextdoor, Facebook community pages. Those clients that are maybe saying, "Oh, I had a bad experience with your company." If you're able to turn that around and it's visible to everybody, I mean, it just increases your overall legitimacy as a business and your professionalism overall. There should be no knee-jerk reactions whatsoever. You should be open to criticism at all times. And I think that just takes a humble mindset. And I think that's something that genuinely will help grow your business, is having a humble mindset at all times.
Oh, yeah. How have you intentionally tried to make moves to become more personally influential in your community?
Yeah, so there's multiple different avenues. More recently, what I've found is actually getting involved with the local youth center. And my involvement there was actually stemmed from, what are our core values at the Family Plumber? We are about family. We are about bringing people together, and I genuinely wanted to tap into that. So I found that a local resource for us was the youth center of Los Angeles and Orange County, and so much so that I actually joined the board. They asked me to join, and in doing so, I built so many relationships with local, the board members, as well as these students that are graduating high school, going into college, that are now, interning or starting their own businesses out of college. Man, these kids are smart. And when they start their own businesses, it's like, of course, they're going to be buying homes. They're going to be using our services maybe 4 or 5 years down the line. So I really tried to tap into that community of people. And it's been great. Honestly, it has. So
I think you're just a great example of, like, on the community side, you're involved with, Chamber of Commerce, and you said the government side of what do you call that? The city council stuff, and these community groups by being useful to people. So that to me is what we're talking about with personal influence. Not only do we get around the people that have the ear of our ideal customers, we make sure that we're being friendly, not overly promotional, but then we become more influential. We make moves. I think some people get a little scared to start making moves to become more influential. What if I told you being an influencer in your local community is actually really possible? Because it might be hard at the grand scheme of things. It might be hard to become United States famous or world famous, but is it that hard to become locally famous?
Well, I'll give you an example, too, of a situation that popped up. We actually took a huge loss on this, and I'm happy to actually bring this example up. But, when we're talking about city council members, I actually met some city council members at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. We had a really good discussion about, just the city and cleaning things up. Well, in turn, there was always an issue with some plumbing outside of City Hall, so in the Civic Center. That one of the council members said, "Hey, I really, really genuinely want to get this fixed, but our public works department is so overwhelmed right now. We're a year out from getting this done." You know what I said? I told that city council member, "If you give me the opportunity, we'll come in, we'll clean up the plumbing." It was some irrigation plumbing. "We'll come and clean that up at no cost. This is like a community service event." So we went out, we actually cleaned up the plumbing. And in doing so, it was in front of the building. We put up some signs saying that we were working in the area and just beware, but the Family Plumber. And I have to say, it was a great promotional thing. It was also, we gave back to the community, which felt good. So that was a great example of something that worked out really well. Now all the public works individuals, police officers that go to the civic center, they saw our signage out front for a couple of weeks and they were like, who's the family plumber?
Think about police officers as influencers in the community. Think more broadly about this, because it's like these are people of influence. These are people like we're talking about people doing hair. We're talking about police officers. We're talking about government officials. We're talking about I could add mommy bloggers. You could do outreach. I'm asking people to consider the idea that they could actually leverage social media influencers that focus on the restaurants in your area, that focus on the other things in your area, that you could do promotions with them. And often they're not as expensive as you might think. Just ask them, hey, what would it look like to work together on something? You know, like remodelers. You know how remodelers are often those people that like are, they're so good at Instagram. You know? Sometimes you get this person, I'm guessing, you're in California, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you've got some aesthetic, crazy, like remodelers in your area that do some crazy, that have a lot of followers. These are aesthetic platforms. Think about Instagram. How could we kind of tie in? Because a lot of times they have these local audiences, but think local. You know, if you can tie this idea of influencer with super hyper local and find those people that actually have a ton of followers in your area, that's where it gets powerful. I think we don't want to just get into influencers that like have followers in Timbuktu or whatever. We want to get people that are influential, that even if it was like a smaller audience, even if it's like 10,000 people followers and they're in your area, like what could we do with them? So just trying to crack people out of the box. This isn't an idea that necessarily everyone has for home services, but I think there's more opportunity there. Starting, I think, from Mike's experience with, did you ever do BNI or anything like that? Or you learned?
Back in the day, there was BNI, and there was all sorts of little small breakout groups and things that would pop up here and there. And we were a part of BNI for a little while. Yeah, I would say it was beneficial, similar to the Chamber of Commerce. I would say if you're going to join a chamber, that would be step number one in your local community. Start with that. BNI is great, though. It brings business owners together. You collaborate with people that on all different levels, how to manage your business and everything. But it stems into conversation of how do we cross refer? If you get busy or I get busy, are you willing to, refer that client to us just temporarily? They're your client at the end of the day. But we have a lot of relationships. I have a lot of relationships with our local competitors. I mentioned that the last time we met. Is that, with those relationships, they know that I'm not out trying to steal their clients. I'm just trying to provide them with service as quickly as possible, because you may be overwhelmed, but vice versa. It always works the other direction too. I may be overwhelmed, and you can help us out as well. So
that's a beautiful thing. And having competitors that either do different specialties than you, or have competitors that for whatever reason may not be able to take that job on, is another great example of utilizing this principle. When it comes to home service projects, who is influencing? And a lot of times it is the people that are closest to you. And that's wild. It's wild that we've gotten so many referrals from competitors. So that's great. And how do you position yourself when you're as part of those groups, just to kind of review that strategy within this?
Yeah. So, being involved with associations, like you mentioned BNI, but specifically in the trade industry, there's multiple different organizations that you can be a part of where you're conversing with other business owners. And, it's been a top priority to stay involved. I'm super involved with the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Association. And there's a whole host of plumbing, leaders that have built businesses that are older than my business, 40 years. There's some business leaders in that group that are 60, celebrating. There's even one of our oldest, which are celebrating 100 years in business. And to sit there and say, oh, I can't learn anything off them. No, that's incorrect. They, I have a saying that, I'm new school mentality with old school values, and being a part of those groups, you do start to genuinely, you're staying in the know. So you're getting information before it actually affects your business, which is incredible. So you can really alleviate a lot of headaches by just networking in general, with the local community and business owners.
So Rilla allows you to listen to, it's an AI in your pocket, listens to the appointment. It's pretty crazy what it can do. It gives a script, gives everything they said, it breaks down some statistics for you.
Analyze talk ratio, interactivity, like how you and I are interacting back and forth, longest modeling, like all those things.
Honestly, this is the shit that I most believe in AI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Enhancing the
You're
user
about to put
experience.
math and data around something that used to be my magic skill.
Absolutely. And being part of the broader community in your industry, it's kind of a little bit more, some people don't believe that they need to do that. So has that benefited you at all as far as networking and getting new business? Do you ever get referred to by plumbers? Because sometimes a plumber will be like, or a home service business will be like, do you need, or who do I know in this area? Because my family member or something like that has it. But you become a little bit more famous or influential in the broader plumbing industry. Has that benefited you at all as far as networking and referrals?
Yeah, so I would say that the broader industry, if you're networking, say across the United States, and you're going to trade shows and you're part of these associations that aren't just in your local community. I've been a part of all of them for the most part, and I've traveled the United States. And what it's brought to my business is actually the opportunity to test out services for the first time. I'll give you an example. We just partnered with Ferguson Enterprises. We have our first VMI, or fully staffed Ferguson warehouse, on site here. We're the very first in the nation. That all came down to me meeting with the top dogs at Ferguson Plumbing Supply. It was just circumstance. We had lunch, and one thing led to the next. A conversation, to your point, a conversation can always lead into something bigger, and never be afraid to hear the word no. It happens a lot in business. And so we had this lunch, and then, one thing led to the next. Within a month, I'm getting basically an entire warehouse supplied to our building. We actually had to purchase a new building, which I'm in right now, ironically enough, because of this opportunity. So I will say it's not direct business from networking nationally. It's been more of a partnership with product specialists, with services that are rendered, such as marketing services as well. We worked with a few marketing agencies, and none of those relationships would have ever been built if I hadn't gone out and networked, at these events and that sort of thing. So,
and I mean, think about this: you're on a podcast right now. You're having a conversation. You're getting links from other websites. It's which is very helpful for SEO, things like that. So as you involve yourself in the broader community, hopefully there's benefits to you and your just visibility. Really, we want visibility, and visibility with the right people too. So that's why it's generally you're keeping most of this local, and then I do every once in a while see people that get a little too attracted to the broader industry, and then they kind of waste time over there. So it's generally you want most of it to be local, but I do think that there are benefits to resources, like you said, when you find out about the resources before everybody else. Sometimes that's going to events and there's super advanced stuff that none of your competitors know about. So I definitely see why that's beneficial.
Absolutely.
What else would you have on this topic of your pursuit of relationships with higher level people in the community and kind of creating a more influential personal brand? Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, no, I would just go back to, I think there's a shift in the industry, and I think there's there's a strong mindset. We see it all over social media with plumbing influencers that we're in it for the cash grab. We're in it to make millions and everything like that. I will say, kind of the old school mentality that I've always had is the money always comes later. I've learned that in my life. So just stemming back to one of the original suggestions is that you go into any relationship, build on the trust and build that relationship. For instance, you mentioned everything correctly. I'm jumping on a podcast to talk to you. But genuinely, you're an awesome dude. So, it's like we've had a great conversation at some of the events, and we built that type of rapport. And I think you start with that, everything else comes later. I mean, honestly, it does. So that would be the biggest thing. I do see the shift in the industry where individuals are going for the cash, and you can sense it, you can feel it, like in the air. So the more genuine you are, the more you can, network properly, go back to the old school way of doing things. I think you're better off, 100%.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Mike. I believe that this is an underutilized strategy. I think that you do it very, very well. So thank you for being a good example out there. Thank you for being a good example on the competitor thing and being abundance mindset and just everything that you do for your community. So you guys, I mean, we didn't even mention any of the charitable things that you guys do as a company, but all that it matters, and you inspire other people. So thank you.
It does. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it, and everything that you're doing for the industry. You're very visible, and I appreciate your genuineness. So
thank you, sir.
So,
well, I appreciate you being on the podcast. Where can people go to check you out?
Well, definitely. PHEC is my main gig. I'm heavily involved with government affairs, so check us out at phec.web.com or .org. You can also check out phec_orsb.com. And then the Family Plumber, if you're in Orange County and you need plumbing services, hit me up, man. www.thefamilyplumber.com. More than happy to help out on that. But I'm an open person. So, you reach out to me on social media, I'm definitely going to respond to you. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Podcast is put on by hookagency.com. Hook Agency all over social media. Appreciate you guys watching. Like, comment, subscribe, rate and review, all the things. Peace.